All right, we'll do it that way. All right, you guys. One watching. Who is it? Who's watching? One is watching right now. I'm sorry I had to hang up. It must have been Jerome. Start me up. Sorry about that, guys. But I don't want to be insulting to the man. Um, anyway, to rescind the trades or to reverse the trades or to unwind, maybe is a better word, unwind the trades. I think that's the worst thing that's going to happen potentially in MMTLP. And so everyone would get their money back. I think that's a disastrous outcome because it's been 4 months and you miss it. There's a lot of opportunity cost there. Plus, I think the stock's worth a lot more than that. But the point is that you're not going to get zero, and the markets are in the United States safe in that sense. So that was one point that I thought was worth emphasizing this morning. The second thing he said, which I think is more instinctive than not, but he might be right. I'm talking now about GTII. If there's only one active short left, and it's this group out of Switzerland, or multiple people, and their broker is out of Utah, which might mean Alpine, which might mean what happened is the Kramers got themselves in trouble massively. Alpine took over the position because they're the prime broker. They were at risk, and that fits with what the NSCC is saying. And then Alpine called, or perhaps took advantage of long-time relationships offshore to get the stock down, thinking they could break the back of GTII and then cover or maybe seller box the shares. Well, anyway, if it's only one group left, 19 million shares, and they're buying back, and there's 800,000 real shares short, that's pretty. That means we're pretty close in GTII. Now, let me quickly tell you on GOLQ. The reason I listened last night, and I think here's the basics, and Brent will go through it. I think the company, as I've told you, has a potential to be a $20, $25 stock 12 months from now. Obviously when you're projecting over a year in the future, you have to give some leeway on the time frame. But basically that kind of number. It's a company with low float and not that many shares outstanding. 2 years ago, December of 2 years ago, Logic distributed 1-for-1 shares in GOLQ. It was around December 21st or 31st I've got to get it right, 2021. And I owned Logic, and I got that distribution. And everything I've seen since with GOLQ is really, really exciting. And Brent will talk about that. But they put a hold on those shares for a year. And that year didn't really start right away. And I forget the reasons for that. Maybe it was the approval from the SEC. So anyway, the year is up right now, basically April. Some week in April is the 1 year time frame. You have to make notice, so maybe it's early May. Well, that would cause, like in my case, hey, I've been waiting for a year, and the stock was at 8, now it's at 2, or actually I don't know where it closed, but just so I don't interrupt myself, it's at 2. I'll just go ahead and sell right now. Well, if you have a bunch of people getting stock that they haven't been able to trade for a year, all of a sudden they might all just say, you know what, I got it for free anyway, let's just sell it. Well, there's a short somewhere, and Brent admitted on the call he doesn't know exactly who it is, that had, well, let me re-emphasize, this is a low float stock. There's 1 million shares, 1,000,001 shares trading. Of that 1,000,001, there's about 70% is closely held. So there's about 300,000 shares in the float. Reportedly, these people that have shorted the stock over the last few weeks, thinking ahead, everybody, I don't know the number, but there's millions of shares like mine that are going to become free to trade. So we'll short it, we'll drive it down, and when they all start selling, we'll be able to cover. Well, what Brent said on the call last night, all of that's on hold. He's not going to free up these shares, my shares, other people's shares, for trading. It's not going to happen. It might eventually, but it's not happening now. So the 150,000 shares that these people shorted for a quick trade, all of a sudden it's going against them. And I think it's as a consideration, it's a possibility that just a small trade. This is not something to, turn your portfolio upside about. But I don't know, 5%, 1% of your portfolio, just buy a little bit. And it's not advice, it's a thought concept. Buy a little bit here at 2 or 3. It's low float. My premise is these are not idiot shorts like Kurt Kramer or greedy shorts like the Lynn Partners or all that. These people possibly made an intelligent observation that millions of shares are going to come free to trade. Why don't we get in front of it? But they don't own any shares, and they didn't borrow these shares. They illegally shorted them. And normally, in the world ignored by Gary Gensler, they'd get away with it. But Brent's pretty upset. And by delaying, calling off, withdrawing the application to make my shares, other people's shares that they got 2 Decembers ago, by removing the application to allow them to take the legend off the shares, to make them free to trade. It's not going to happen. So this short is all of a sudden going to go, do I want to be in this position? My thought is they're not going to do what Kurt Kramer did. Let's just sell some more. They're not going to do that. They're professionals, I'm guessing. And it's only 150,000 shares. But it's 50% of the float. So when they go in to buy, and maybe some of us buy, and there's some good news, maybe it's a $10 stock briefly, or a $30 stock briefly. I don't know. It's a potential. I'm not saying it's going to go to, well, I don't know, 50% of the. that's a pretty big part. But anyway, that's the premise, and we'll get them on. I was just talking about GOLQ, which GOLQ. GOLQ was a spinoff from Logic LGIQ in two Decembers ago. And GOLQ has had good news recently. The Gamma Ray acquisition, a lot of people coming on the board, nest egg, and there's more to come. A lot of their business is in the growing part of the world. It's also here in the United States, but it's where there's vibrant economies, young people. But the float is only around 1 million shares. I think 1,000,001, over 70% closely held, and no one's selling. And so it's about 300,000 in the public float. So this is a company that basically, it doesn't quite trade by appointment, but it's almost like that. And an aggressive short illegally shorted shares they didn't locate, 150,000 of them. And I think there's an investment thesis for doing so, which was, for example, in my case, I got shares because I owned Logic, 1-for-1 in GOLQ. Last, 2 Decembers ago was the record date. Well, they actually showed up in my account, I think, in April. It might have been sooner. But the 1 year legend on the stock, restriction on the stock, ends now, basically. I think it was April. I don't remember. It's right around now. So Brent then has to make an application, get approval from the SEC, and then the legend comes off. It costs money to do so, and everybody could sell. Well, this short, whoever it is hurting everybody. The stock was $8. It's now under $2, and he got it lower. Well, Brent last night said we're withdrawing that application to get the legend lifted. So all of a sudden, this guy's short, criminally naked, over half of the float in the stock. And the potential for my shares, other people's shares that they got 2 years ago, to be free to trade is delayed indefinitely. So anyway, that's the short trigger that might make a short-term trade worth the punt. Buy it at 2, buy it at 3. Maybe it goes up 5 times, 10 times in a squeeze. Maybe it goes higher. I don't know how squeeze act. But if these guys try to cover 150,000 shares, I don't think they're going to find any sellers. All right, not at these prices. You find sellers at much higher prices. So let me just see. I got some text. I just want to see if I'm doing it correctly. Yeah, he misspelled my name. Not any longer. I fixed that. And then, I don't know how to do this. This great guy, Matt, offered to do it on a space call. But Brent isn't on Twitter. And I think it's too close to the bell. Sorry for that. The one morning that I do this, they're working on the garage next door. It's a beautiful day here. Let me show you. Gorgeous day. And so I think we'll have a good call. Let's look at GTII. All right, let me see what Matt. I don't know how to do this. I'll call and see if he wants to go in on. We'll see. I gotta think through how it would work. Hey, how are you? You ready? I can barely hear you. I don't know if that's my phone or you. Let me see. For some reason, I can't quite hear. There, maybe that's better. Yeah, that's better. Um, One of the gentlemen that watches me, who tolerates me because one time I overreacted to him months ago. Anyway, he's a good guy, and he's suggesting he opened a space call. He can open a space call where you could call in on his phone or mine, maybe. He could make me a host, and then you could talk to my live and talk to a space. But I also think we could maybe do that separately, maybe Sunday night or Monday night, and just go with our plan today this way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I figured. So maybe let's do it this way, and we'll make this work, and then people can replay it, and we can maybe set up a space call. As soon as you want. We'll just hit this hard. We'll do it Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or whenever you are free. All right. So are you going to call me at 10, or am I calling you? Um, Let me try my other ear. Talk to me just now in my other ear. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be all right. I think I'll be all right. All right, all right. Thanks, Brent. Bye. All right. So We're not going to do. I know, Matt. He's allergic to. He doesn't want any delays because of technical issues. He's allergic to trying something new, and so Matt, what he just said and what I suggested, let's do this. I know it's fewer viewers than we would get on Matt's space call, but Matt, we'll do a space call Sunday night or maybe Monday, whenever he's free. We'll do another one because he wants to hit this uh, short aggressively. All right, now I got to take this call. Hello. You right? Sorry about that. So in 4 minutes, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, let me look up GTII while you're So Matt, if you're listening, I don't know if you are, Matt, but we're going to do this now. I love your idea. I wish I had thought you had. Anyway, you're dealing with a guy who doesn't understand technology, another guy that isn't on Twitter, and he just wants to get it done now. This will be able to be replayed, but Brent will make himself available. So you, since you offered, we can have a space call with you, Busy, or whomever, maybe Drew or whomever. I don't want to distract people from the fight with MMTLP, but sometimes your bigger position is sitting there. To do a small trade on the side gets your mind off on that trade, and it takes it buys time for that one to percolate. Because watching MMTLP doesn't do anything right now. All right, let me sign in to get you a quote. 3 minutes. I don't have much time to sign in. That guy, and when I say guy, I'm being respectful. ARCA and 100% did point out, I think it was ARCA, GTII could be under pressure, which it's unfortunate. But he also said this could be the 69 spot. All right, he's calling in, so I can't give you a quote. Hello? Hello? All right. Do you want to start a little early? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Brent Suen. But I misspelled his name, but we changed that.
All right.
We changed
Great.
that. No, I see. There wasn't sound, so maybe there wasn't sound. So sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. We can start over. Let's do a sound test.
Yeah, now there's sound, right, Jenny?
Okay.
Jenny. All right. Yeah. Damn Yankees said yes, sir. There's sound.
Okay.
So
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me. I think in the best interest of your viewers, I will not focus on the fundamental part. I think every company CEO out there has good things to say about their company, but I think we need to drill down to the part that's relevant right now. And,
yes, sir.
And I do want to preface this with the fact that I'm not going to hold back here. Those who are offended by an executive's lack of decorum, I'm sorry, but this is gloves off. Bill, I've known you and some of your colleagues who have been very active in the combating of naked shorting for a while.
Yes, sir.
I've seen what has happened with GTII, Finger Motion. I'm friends with the founders of Finger Motion and with Martin. I'm very aware of what's going on there. And until last week, until this week, I thought, oh, that's just something that's happening to other people's stocks. I think, as you mentioned earlier, we filed an S3 about 2 weeks ago, and that S3, when it goes effective, would have enabled our shareholders who have restricted shares to free up their shares and sell them. I had been working on a plan to uplist to the New York Stock Exchange. We are in the process. Actually, a fair ways down the process. We have an investment banker engaged. They were going to do a retail-only, very small offering. We were doing everything possible to structure it so that there was liquidity in the stock. Concurrent with that, and I know I said I won't go into the whole fundamental story, but the things we have lined up in a very short period of time for completion upon the uplisting usually take most companies about a year to accomplish. So we've done a lot of very strong work in a short period of time. Now, unfortunately, someones are trying to take advantage of the fact that we filed this S3 a few weeks ago and have put on a short position of about 153,000 shares as of last Friday. Okay, and how do I know this? And I'm not going to say I believe. I'm going to say I know, because I looked at the DTC report from last week. It only showed 9,200 shares changing hands, but we had over 60,000 shares trade. So that can only be a naked short sell, okay? Because I've also had a friend of mine that runs a very large hedge fund that has a prime broker account where he can borrow just about any stock he wants, try to borrow our shares. He said the most he could borrow is 5,000 shares. That's it, okay? So this is not a legitimate short. This is a naked short, okay? I also requested from Broadridge last week the NOBO list, the non-objecting beneficial owners list, showing who owns shares. As you mentioned earlier, and actually I need to correct you, we have 1.1 million shares in total in the float, in DTC, okay?
Okay.
700,000 of those shares are in the hands of friends, and when I say friends, not just someone I casually know, good friends, okay, and family. Those shares are not moving, all right? 200,000 shares are people whom I recognize, who are friends of the company that have bought shares after we came public. And then there's about roughly 200,000 shares in the hands of people who I don't know, but these are 2,000 here, 1,500 here. There's no major shares there, okay? So of our total float, you could say there's about 200,000 shares that's really freely floating around.
Wow.
Okay. But when I got to the bottom of the NOBO list and I looked at the total number of shares, there's 153,000 shares that mysteriously shows up in our float from last January. Now, you cannot increase the float of a company without the transfer agent being part of that, and we've been using the same transfer agent for a decade. Okay, I called them to verify that no shares had been freed up. Not only did they say that what I already knew, which is it has to go through me and our corporate counsel, but it's not possible to do that because we're not 144 eligible. And our S3 has not gone effective. So it's as close to impossible as it can get. So that 153,000 shares is a failure to deliver. Okay, so this is exactly everything that you talk about and that your audience knows about is going on right now with our stock. This offer right here at $2.17 of 7,400 shares That's further evidence. These guys are still shorting because they think that S3 filing is going to give them cover because they are shorting against restricted paper. Now, when I pull it today, and this is not a bluff, my lawyer, our lawyer at GOLQ is voluntarily withdrawing the S3. And as I said on the call yesterday, no one is going to be eligible for freeing up their shares until we're ready. And the New York Stock Exchange uplisting is off the table. Everything is off the table until this gets sorted out. Okay?
Wow.
Now, I'm going to take it a step further. I am saying out loud that I will give 500,000 shares of my own shares to someone if they tell me who it is that's shorting. You can report this person anonymously, and I will transfer ownership of my 500,000 shares to whomever reports that. Okay? Now, in the absence of that, okay, I am advocating for a short squeeze because our float is so small, we could probably go to $20 or $30 a share. I am saying this out loud. I have had counsel tell me, you don't want to go on record doing that. No, I am saying that because I'm furious about this. We are being taken advantage of, just like the other companies that you and your audience knows about. Okay, so if this sits poorly with people because of my candor, well, I really don't care because this is harming everything that I and my team have set out to do. This is harming 2,700 shareholders that have been patiently waiting to find a monetization of their shares and see us uplist and build the business. Okay, and further, this hurts the markets overall because this type of activity is illegal. So do I stand behind what I say? Absolutely I do. And does it sound a bit arcane that a CEO is saying these things out loud when in general they're frowned upon? I really don't care because this is harming me, my team, and my shareholders.
That's terrific. I mean, what you're doing is terrific, not what they've done.
Bill, I'll tell you, I don't think these guys are going to stop until they see the S3 withdrawn, and even then they may not because these little brokerage firms offshore in Belize and in Monaco, they will short against 144 paper, but when they discover that 144 is not going to be available, they're going to have to be bought in. I mean, I don't know how many FTDs you can do on a small float stock, but I'm also prepared to take it a step further and have everyone that has free trading shares surrender their shares back to the transfer agent and then have new ones issued.
Wow.
I'll do a special dividend. We still have assets we can dividend out. I will do whatever it takes to crush this short.
Wow. And there's no evidence of when they shorted, right?
This has come about sometime between the end of January and now, but things really got aggressive over the past 2 weeks. After we filed the S3, they just started coming in on the offer.
So we can guess the price that they're short then, probably.
Yeah, I would say it's probably in here around the $2 level.
Yeah. So if for some reason buying came in to get it above that, they'd feel the pressure.
I believe so. I think whomever is shorting is either going to have a margin call and put in more money, or they're going to have to get bought in. And,
right.
and as we're seeing right now, I mean, we've traded 11,000 shares. That selling volume has not come from anyone in the float. This is additional shorting. 9,000 shares shows up for sale. I know everyone that has shares of that size. It's none of us. I've spoken to everyone that has shares in the float. We want this to get squeezed because we want to inflict pain on this person and have them bought in.
Right. That's amazing. So someone was just asking me which stock are we talking about, so I got distracted. But
no problem.
Because they were talking, Logic or GOLQ, but
yeah, it's GOLQ.
Right. And what is the short? Okay, so maybe we should go over that again. The short interest from the Nobo list, Brent just discovered. I'll let him say it because he's forceful.
Sure.
But it's more than 50. It sounds like it's about 70% of the actual float.
That's right. That's right.
Go ahead and say it again. Just
Sure. Okay. Let me go through the numbers again. I'll try to keep it simple. Our float, what is deposited at DTC, Depository Trust, is right under 1.1 million shares.
right.
Okay. 700,000 shares of that is in the hands of people whom I know very well, very well. They are not only friends of mine, but they have been supportive in the efforts we're making on the mergers and acquisition side, which has been very aggressive this past 3 months. 200,000 shares are various public shareholders whose names I recognize because they've also been shareholders of ours at Logic. And so what's left are roughly 200,000 shares of people who I don't know, but they have bought in the market over the past few months. So those 200,000 shares are what I would call the effective float. Okay? We have 153,000 shares that is sold naked short as of last Friday. I believe that today's selling and yesterday's selling is a continuance of that. And what I believe will happen is they will continue to sell short until they are either forced to buy in, or they see that we've withdrawn the S3 filing that we put in 2 weeks ago to free up shares. Once there is no ability for anyone to free up shares, then that has then eliminated their ability to cover through freeing up shares.
How many shares were issued in December of record date of December of 2021? Is it million? How many millions?
It's a fair number. The actual non-affiliate number is about 19 million shares spread amongst 2,700 shareholders.
Okay.
Now that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But I have literally spoken to 70% of those holders. That's about 600 people. And yes, I did that on phone and email and WhatsApp and text. And these are shareholders of ours that we've had for years, and I do have a regular dialogue. I have verbal and written commitment from them to free up those shares in tranches over the next 11 months in an orderly way after we uplist. So that whole plan that we put in place is being scuttled by one person who's trying to get out ahead of that. And what's happening is it's eliminating our ability to uplist to the New York Stock Exchange at the $2 number because it can't be stabilized.
Well,
so everything that we're doing, that we're doing is being harmed by the actions of one person who's having our shares sold short illegally.
So leaving the fundamental, because the fundamental story is great, and there's reasons why.
We don't have to talk about that anymore.
There's reasons why the 19 million shares will be worth a lot of money once you get all these pieces moving. But just right in the short term, it's possible that whoever this illegally naked shorting guy is looked at this and said, oh my gosh, if I short at $2 53,000 shares, all of a sudden 19 million is going to come free to trade. I'll be able to cover it 50 cents. If you pull that S3, and I assume you'll make a press release, what's he going to do? He's stuck.
It eliminates their ability to cover, and it unfortunately eliminates the ability for the other good shareholders to gain a path to liquidity.
But I'm sure people are willing to wait for liquidity at, I don't know, I hear numbers that in a year or so you could be worth a pretty high number. I know for my shares, I'm willing to wait for the higher number than get liquidity at $1. I'd rather get at $20.
As would I. And look, I'm interim CEO now, and I'm also CEO at Logic. My days are 18 to 20 hour days. I'm not taking salary at GoLogic. I'm probably stupid for doing this, but I will not be derailed in my attempt to make this successful. Okay, because I'm a shareholder too. I'm a significant shareholder, and as I had said on our call yesterday, and as I said earlier, I'm putting a personal bounty out of 500,000 of my shares to whomever reports this person to me. Okay, you'll remain anonymous. You know what? I don't care who it is, but they need to stop. Whether that's getting bought in, standing down, or having to put up more capital. It doesn't matter. But the problem is that they're killing everything that we're working towards on behalf of shareholders. So you, me, anyone listening who owns shares is getting harmed by the actions of this one person because they're using illegal means to sell the stock now. Right. I don't care what their motivation is, but if you look at it, I don't think it's a real hedge fund, like a Citadel or SAC or any of those. It could either be one of these small groups like L1 or some of these other guys who call themselves funds. But I don't think so. I mean, on 150,000 shares, even if you sell it at $2, if we went to zero, what is that? That's $300,000.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. But what about the downside risk? Small float stocks like this, I said on the last call, I've seen stocks go to in excess of $500 on low float.
Yeah.
From pennies. Your downside is infinite. You can get demolished. You can crush the brokerage firm that facilitates this. You can blow a huge hole in the clearing firm that allows it by being short as little as 150,000 shares. So risk to reward, it doesn't make any sense. But so who do I think it is? I think it's a shareholder believing that they're going to be able to free up shares through the S3 and covering when that goes effective. So I'm pulling the S3 because this is unfair. It's unfair to our shareholders. It's unfair to our team. It's unfair to me. And it's unfair in the grand scheme of things. You cannot do this.
So to me, listening to you, and of course you were just talking from the standpoint of someone who sold shares they didn't borrow and didn't locate short, their profit might be $300,000 if it went to zero right now, and in return they have a risk almost unlimited to the upside.
That's right. And look, the power of individual investors and traders is immense. I mean, I don't have to point out AMC and GameStop and Bed Bath & Beyond, but that was retail driven. Millions of small investors finally showed Citadel and some of the other big hedge funds who holds the power. Okay, so in this instance, could we go to 20 or 30? Yeah, absolutely we could. And if we do, I would be delighted. And if whomever is short, naked short here, if they get squeezed, awesome. That's great. Well, I just want to get back to I just want to get back to business and get through the uplisting and continue to build the business and get this out of the way. But this is a problem right now, and unless they get squeezed and bought in, or unless someone reports them to me, and I go to FINRA in the SEC, not that they'll do anything, but I will. Okay, and once you know which brokerage firm it is and who the perpetrator is, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Well, not to get distracted, but I just went this week to listen to Gary Gensler. I was in the audience, and he prattles on about capital formation and the depth of our markets. Well, here's an example of a great company trying to form capital and getting destroyed by his inaction on enforcing rules that are already in the books. But leaving that aside, because specifically what I'm seeing here, and you're on the side of it, so this is not a situation where the company is going to blindside a potential trade right now, which is whoever this is looks at the S3 and says, oh, there's going to be a huge supply coming and people are going to sell. I'm going to jump ahead of it. But he's a piker. He shorted $300,000 worth of stock. So he's obviously not, it seems to me, a deep-pocketed player. Well, you're withdrawing that S3, that you're withdrawing that supply, and you're stating that the 19 million shares potentially that would, or some portion of those, that would become available, that's on hold indefinitely until this problem's finished. So it sounds like to me, and I'll be quick, it sounds like to me that here's a stock with 1.1 million shares out, 200,000 in its legitimate float, almost 160,000 naked short, and there's no new supply coming. If the stock goes above 2, you could get margin calls and maybe buy-ins. It seems like a reasonable trade for even 100 shares or 1,000 shares. Buy it, see what happens. And you're right. For a guy to have to cover, because he's not, I don't think he's going to have the money to cover his margin call. They're going to buy him in, and when the error account buys it in, it could go to prices you can't even imagine.
I think that is a likely scenario.
All right,
we will do everything we can to squeeze them. And you know what? Okay, I know you've had heads of other companies on, and some of the things I'm saying may come across as inflammatory or unprofessional. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care because this stuff happens every day to other people's companies. All right, the whole idea of decorum and coming across as professional goes out the window when you start getting taken advantage of by people like this. So am I willing to say things like, yes, I will personally bounty 500,000 shares to someone who reports this person to us? Yes, and I'm saying that. And am I advocating a short squeeze? Absolutely I am. Am I saying that I think we could go to $20 or $30? Yes. I'm sure the SEC or FINRA may take issue with those things I'm saying, but you know what? We're being treated unfairly, okay? Our shareholders are absolutely suffering because of these actions, and so I'm going to say what I can within reason to turn that around.
Well, and as you know, because you're so good at it and you've done it for so long, you're a deal maker extraordinaire. Companies use their stock as currency to acquire accretively revenue, talent, growth, technologies, and when these criminals steal that, they're stealing jobs, they're stealing the American dream. If you walk, as Ham always says, if you were walking down the street and you saw some thugs robbing from your mother, you'd beat them up. And that's what you're doing metaphorically. Well, and realistically, we're going to do it financially. I'm going to buy some shares, and I can't give specific advice to anybody on the call, but you've got management here right now, and ask some questions. Pop them up. He's not going to create supply either by taking money from the criminals, or he's asking people like myself who own the shares to sacrifice short-term liquidity to catch out this short. So you know the short's trapped. You know it. And he's going to withdraw the S3 today, I guess, and make the announcement. I think it's a worthy trade. Anyway, I won't take your speaking time, Brent. I just want to reemphasize that. We're talking about GOLQ right now. There are some questions about logic, but I'm going to suggest that we just stick to GOLQ because Brent wants to, basically, he wants to catch out this criminal short. And Brent, there are some questions on logic. If I'm wrong, you can answer them.
Sure.
But I think we should keep our laser focus on GOLQ.
Yeah, let's stick to GoLogic now. My email and my phone number are out there, so I'm fine with people emailing me about Logic.
Well, here's a gentleman that said he bought a lot of GOLQ. I don't know when, but he says he bought 3,500. I'm not sure. Let me see if there's any questions. There was one question, which I think it's a little off the urgency of this call, but one gentleman asks, did you give hundreds of thousands of shares to friends and family rather than having them invest? I think that's yesterday, and you can touch on it out of politeness. But
Yes, of course. Okay, sure. That's a good question. We actually purchased the shell that we put the business into, and so those shares came by way of actual money being put up to acquire the shell.
Right.
And some were bought in the open market as well.
Right. So what's the volume? Are you looking at your computer? What's the volume right now?
Total volume is 18,000 shares.
Wow. So somebody did just buy 30. He says he just bought 3,500, and it's 220. So based on the information Brent has just gotten from the NOBO list, which is, and maybe you can explain that, but CEOs, companies get a list from the DTC which lists out the investors that don't object to their information being shared. They get a list that shows the shares that are registered in individual or company names separately, and then there's a big list or a big chunk that is street name of brokerage firms. And that's the list he's giving you data from. That's a list you normally don't see. He's telling you what it says.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And in addition to that, when you have a much larger float, it's very hard to do. I think that some of the other companies you follow, like GTII, I don't know what the float is there, but I'm guessing it's considerably more than 1 million shares. But we've got about 60 shareholders who have over 1,000 shares. And so it's very easy to determine any discrepancy. So right now we've got nearly 15%, well, I think after today and yesterday, we've got nearly 15% of the total shares deposited at brokers that is sold naked short. Of the actual free float, it's about 75%. So, could this go to 10, 20, 30 if buying came in and if these guys get bought in? I think so.
Well, that's worth, just from, my thing I can add to this. If these shorts, look, I don't know their deal with their prime broker, but normally you've got to have $2.50 in the account for everything you short. They probably make some other deal, but that's what it's supposed to be. So there's a free credit balance there that's offsetting their margin call or their capital requirement to maintain the position. Well, this sounds like a maybe an opportunistic group that isn't well financed. And I don't know, my point is, I don't know exactly what price in the stock is going to cause them pain, and their prime broker is going to call up and say, hey, you need to put more money in the account. But this is going to be a losing trade for them, and they're going to face the situation. Do we add money to it? My guess is they won't. And then the prime broker, who knows for sure, but then the prime broker says, well, if you don't have the money in by 2 o'clock, we're buying you in. That goes to an error account. They don't care what price they pay. They will pay without regard. They will not try to get the best price. They just want to cover 153 1,000 shares as quickly as possible. It's that rally that Brent's talking about could drive the stock to 20 or 30. But, I'm sounding like, I'm not suggesting this as the to move your whole account into it, but as a trade where you buy 1,000 shares or 100 shares. This is a stock that in an error account when they buy, I think it go a lot higher than $30. So Brent, that was my pitch that distracted from you. All right, now it's 2:45.
Yeah, I think I would say that almost all the sell volume today is a continuation.
Because they haven't seen your announcement yet.
That's right. We'll actually we'll voluntarily withdraw the S3, so that will show up on Edgar.
Right. And then are you going to make a separate announcement, or they'll know about it? They'll be watching it.
We'll put out an announcement as well. I'm having yesterday's call transcribed, which I need to put out so that it reaches a broader audience.
Right.
So again, if there are any amateur sleuths out there, I would love for someone to take me up on my offer and let me know who they believe is doing this.
If you give me permission, there is someone on the call that has been working already hard on it, and I trust her. And she is working. She may be able to help you if I can give her your number so she can text you.
Absolutely.
She may be able to help. Somebody says, "Be careful. The shorts are probably listening." That's what we want.
That's great. You know what? I would like. I'm online. People can find out my address. I would rather someone come over to my house than do things anonymously, because that's just cowardice. All right.
Well, this call's not about me, but my name is on my YouTube and it's on Twitter. My name's there. I'm not hiding behind
same here. I loved the video billboard with those guys on there. In fact, oddly, a couple of them call us regularly asking if we're interested in financing. And I tell them, hey, I saw you on the side of a video billboard in front of the SEC. It's great. It's great.
Well, that's the thing. These guys, a lot of these investors have been burned. And I have some sympathy for the CEOs. It's a tough job. But they're burned because people call and they're representing the shorts, whether they realize it or not. And hey, they call the company and say, hey, we'll give you money, give us some new shares. You're not going to do that.
We had. I'm very familiar with how that works. We have an engagement with a retail only investment bank. They're small. When you are the size we are, and you're on the over-the-counter market, and you want to uplist to NYSE or NASDAQ, there's only two ways to go. It's either retail or retail. Okay, because when an investment bank says, "Oh, we're going to do institutional participation," institutions like real ones, T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, Janus, any legitimate fund manager does not mess around with these tiny little stocks on uplistings. So what these investment banks do when they tell you it's institutional, they go to guys like Lind and L1 and what's it, Armistice, and all these other people who say we're a fund, we're a single family office. That's just bullshit.
They're not. Okay? They're a front.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And again, they say we're institutions. That's not institutional. So when we were doing an investment banker selection, my prerequisite was it's got to be retail only. We weren't going to raise much on the uplisting, just enough to qualify for NYSE, and then we would continue out our mergers and acquisition strategy. Everything was humming right along, and then all of a sudden, someone decides to do things illegally to harm our shareholders. And this is not the first time you've heard this. It's the same thing on any of the other companies you follow. But the difference is that I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to adhere to any decorum. I'm going to say what needs to be said, and I'm going to do what needs to be done. And so again, I am offering 500,000 shares of my shares that I will transfer to someone if they tell me who it is that is shorting us, and we flush them out. I'm good. I'm good for that. Okay.
Well, there's two things I noticed differently here. One, it's a small amount of stock, so you can actually see the problem in real time, and they're brazen about it. They're going to get caught out by you. The other thing is you have no illusions where some other CEOs do, that these I call them smiling faces on the other side of the desk are actually good people, at least in this context. You see them for what they are, and so you're not going to be fooled.
Well, actually, as you're talking, I'm watching the trades go off. Whoever's doing it is obviously either not listening or doesn't care, or thinks that I'm bluffing on pulling the S3. Or maybe they have a bigger trading deck than what we see. But one way or the other, we will flush them out.
Well, we'll let me see if there's any questions, but we'll do another call on the fundamentals and LGIQ. People are asking a lot of questions about logic, but guys and gals, I just want to be focused completely on GOLQ. You have a CEO here that is telling you what the Noble list says. He's telling you the float and the shorts. He's basically telling you their pressure point price. I mean, we don't know anything for sure, but you can tell by looking at the historic action. So I think you have a trade here that, yeah, you don't have to do a big trade. But you don't need to do a big trade to punish these guys, and it could get out of control for the shorts later today, Monday, Tuesday. I don't know. Whenever they realize that there's not going to be massive supply of shares to cover their idiot trade, because it is an idiot trade. The most they could make. No trading desk would do this trade. The most they can make. And remember, they probably sold some lower, but and after cost, it's probably lower. But the most they can make is $300,000. If it goes to zero, and it's not going to zero. In return, what if these 150,000 shares go to 100? I can't do the arithmetic quickly in my head, but it's a massive loss. It's a stupid trade, and their prime broker will buy it in. In my judgment,
I think you can add roughly another 30,000 shares on top from today, and then whatever volume was yesterday, because the only selling we're seeing right now is the short seller. I'll know again. I'll know again tonight when I pull the DCC report.
My favorite.
So far, everything we're seeing is indicating that this is the case.
My favorite text I just got. One of your new investors bought 25 shares just now, and I think that's exactly the approach. We get distribution, we get people buying. Remember to put in your GTC orders high. These guys are going to get caught out. I'm going to help Brent, and he's going to help you. We're going to catch out this short. It obviously is one, or maybe it's a couple of guys trying to steal from you and destroy the company out of greed. They're breaking the law for 150, 160,000. How much do these people need? Why should they get 300? Well, whatever, it'll be less, $100,000, $200,000 at the cost of a vibrant company. Well, you got the CEO that's going to make sure they go down, which is an opportunity for you to make a quick trade. But then remember, for the long run, this company fundamentally, I think, could go to $20 or $25 by the end of 12 months. It's a good investment long term too. Somebody just bought $15.50. Brent. You've got fans here.
I really appreciate that. We will do everything we can to flush this person out or persons. So,
well, I don't have. It doesn't seem like I have a lot of questions here, and I think you've laid it out pretty clearly. Mechanically, you're going to withdraw the S3 today.
That's right.
And you're going to transcribe your earnings call from last night and put that out. And I'm gonna put this up so people can listen to it. Are you gonna put a press release out about the S3?
I think so. Yeah, I've got to finish the transcription from yesterday's shareholder call, and then we will withdraw the S3 today, which will show up on Edgar, and then I'll put something out early next week to recap everything.
Another gentleman just bought 2,000 shares. This is something where we can act and I think feel good about what we're doing. And I think there's a potential for financial reward. I cannot give personal, specific financial advice, but I can tell you, you have all the ingredients here for a short squeeze in the short run. He's going to pull the S3 today, and maybe Brent, you can explain how that works. I have no idea how that works when it shows up in EGDR. Is it Monday it shows up?
No, it'll show up today that we've withdrawn it.
Okay, so it'll be on the online SEC filings, which means if the shorts are paying attention, they're going to find out their ability to cover into a flood of selling by impatient holders for about a year and a half of restricted shares. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And I would rather, I'm sure most of Brent's investors that feel the same way, I would rather wait a year and get out at $20 than panic out now.
Great.
So, all right.
And Bill, thank you for having me today. Anyone with questions, if they're free to email me or CMA. Our IR firm. I would caution though that it will take me a while to respond because I had 618 emails in my inbox over the weekend. So I'll do my best, but we'll be communicating publicly through press releases as well.
I don't want to push on your time, but maybe we can do a call this weekend, early next week. Maybe bring in more people. Where we focus on GoLogic, but we can also expand a bit to Logic because there's a lot of questions on Logic. But I don't want to confuse this right now. This is like a laser. This is a trade potential that I am going to do just for a small amount, hit and run. But we're gonna wipe out this short, and therefore we're gonna, I think, almost guarantee the viability, long-term viability of GoLogic. That's my goal.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on, Bill.
Thank you very much, Brent. You're appreciated.
In the audience, I really appreciate it.
Well,
our shareholders appreciate it. Now you are all shareholders. Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Brent, very much. You're the man.
Thanks, guys.
We got your
Take
back.
care.
All right. Bye.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. That's all right. I'll answer a couple of questions on Logic that I saw. CB asked a really good question. Are they doing it to Logic? And he said something. What did he say? Are they stuffing it on the bid and the ask? The answer with Logic, CB, it's very perceptive on your part. There is a group who participated in the Neo exchange offering of Logic a year and a half ago at $3. That group uses their computers and however they do it, and they trade on both sides of that all day long. Now they're limited to a certain percentage of the daily volume, and I don't remember what that limit is, 40% or something. So it tends to come in at the end of the day. And you're right. They try to mine small profits all day on both sides of Logic's price. But the good news is they're indifferent to the price. Whether it's 20 cents or $8, they can do all that, but they're not trying to drive the price downward. They're just trying to, and I don't know why it's allowed. This is what Goldman Sachs does, Ken Griffin does all day. Why we need bankers constantly taking bits of money in high-speed, computerized way. How does that add any benefit to society? How does it add? Yes, CB, I think that's right. I don't know, Mark, if we're engaging in, well, I'll address that. I don't think we're engaging in insider trading or manipulation. But let me turn that on its reverse, Mark. The short is manipulating the stock price. The short is selling shares they don't own. That is manipulation. So I don't know, Mark. Personally, I'm out in the open. My name's there. I'm telling it to as broad an audience as I reach. And if they want to call me in and talk about it, I'll say the manipulation happened on the other side. I'm not hiding anything. This doesn't help me in any way. I'm going to try to buy, and I bought some yesterday. I'm going to try to have a position of at least 1,000 shares, maybe a little bit more, into this. I'm saying it out loud. Yesterday I paid almost $2. I don't know. Well, I don't even know what it's trading for right now. But my goal isn't to get you in it at $2.50, so I got a better price. My goal is, I would like to see, with this guy helping, I would like to see, here's what I say, and Mark, I don't see this as market manipulation. I see this as a guy, or you know what, all the greed seems to be men. It doesn't seem to be women, so, I'm not trying to be sexist, but the fact is, I think it's a guy. A guy. So it might be more than one. But I think it's a logical, by the way, I think it's a logical looking down around the corner and saying, you know what, they're going to have a lot of stock that people are going to be selling. So why don't I jump in? No one else has access to this. A retail client can't do this. It's a bias in favor of criminals. But I have access through which, we don't know, whichever market maker. I'm just going to sell stock I don't know. And then when other people start selling, I can cover and I can make $100,000. I can take that hot secretary I've been dying to squeeze. I can take her down to Monaco and impress her with all my fast wealth and my gold watch and my greased back hair and the cologne that smells up the whole restaurant and my shiny white teeth. Let's do it. Well, why? Why does that gentleman get that right to strip that money out? Is it because he's protecting you from a criminal CEO? You just heard the CEO. He's an honest man. He's working his ass off, 18 hours a day. This guy's he's threatening the company. I think that's where the market manipulation is. So what I see here, Mark, just to be clear, I think you've got a guy who shorted the stock that he can't afford to short. He can't afford the position, thinking he had a winning trade, because obviously there's going to be millions of shares. And remember, Brent was going to limit the number. I don't know what the limit would have been, but let's say it was 10 or 20%. So 2 or 3 or 4 million shares are going to come available to sell. I'm going to get out and I'll cover low. That's his trading thesis. He's doing it on the come. He's doing it on the come. He's not going to protect. Look, if it's a big trading desk, they're not going to protect 150,000 shares. A potential $200,000 gain or $250,000 gain. So one fact is you've got this guy trying to take advantage of a dynamic he perceives that he's probably done before with companies. But now you have another fact that was announced, Mark, last night on the earnings call, and it was widely disseminated, full Reg FD, fully disseminated, fully disclosed last night. And Brent just said on the call he's having it transcribed. He's not typing it, he's having a professional transcribe that call, Mark. So that's going to be announced and put out to everyone. And then today's call that I had, which I didn't see, it's probably 200, somewhere between 12 and 200 people, maybe more. And I'll put it out on Twitter so anyone can listen. That's all I know to do to fully disclose it. But what you just heard last night and just now, Mark, he's going to pull that S3. So the thesis the short's operating under is going to disappear. The rug is pulled out from under that short. What's he going to do?
I think so.
Probably the stock is going to go up. I asked Brent from the Nobo list, which he's sharing with you, and he's fully distributing it, full disclosure. I asked him when was the most selling, and he said they got aggressive in the last 2 weeks. Well, I've been following the stock, not like I'm obsessed with following it, so I'm not going to remember exactly, but I think the stock's been under $2 that whole time. So a lot of the selling's been done under $2. When you short sell, you have to put money sort of in a lockbox. You have to have a free credit balance there. You can't take that money out. Every prime broker used to be, I don't know, it's $2.50, but the house requirement can be different at every prime broker. And I assume if you're in collusion with your prime broker, or if you're a big client, you might be able to negotiate those things downward. But at $2.50 on 150,000 shares, I'm going to use my calculator because I always make mistakes in my head. 150,000 shares at $2.50. He needs $375,000 in his account. Now he might have other shares elsewhere, but he's got $375,000. That's under $2. Today, just today, if I understand what's happening, the stock's up 25 cents. He may. Now the tricky part is we're not going above 250 yet, but just as an example, he may have to come in with another $37,000 today when the clerk calls. But I tell you what, if the stock goes above 250, let's say it goes to 3 on Monday or Tuesday, I'm not trying to manipulate the stock. But if Brent is telling us about it, he's telling his friends, they're telling the 700, everyone is pissed off at this short. If it goes to 3, maybe it's 50 cents. They have to, this criminal has to put up. I already know the number, but I'm going to use my calculator anyway. He's going to get a phone call. You got to wire $75,000. This is going to start taking away from his gold accoutrement. It's going to take away from his expensive eau de cologne. It's going to take away from his fancy Mediterranean dinner overlooking the Mediterranean and his night out with a hot chick. He might even not be able to pay for his Rolls Royce. He's going to say, I don't want to put that $75,000 up. And then his wife's at home. She's screaming for more money for the kids' education. He's not going to put up that $75,000. He might. Well, then what if it goes to 4? Then it's $150,000. It becomes a really stupid trade really quickly. It's already a stupid trade. So, all right, that's the second kind of dynamic we know. The first is that probably an underfunded short saw an opportunity to step in front of a liquidity of selling, impatient selling from people who have waited over a year and a half. That's one piece of information we have. The second piece is we know that to get the first, you need to file an S3 and get approval from the SEC to lift the legend off the stocks. We just heard, and we heard last night, that's being pulled. It's not going to happen. So the third thing we can assume and we can presume is that the prime broker is going to margin call this son of a bitch. Where does it start? At 225? I think it could start right now because most of the shares he's sold under, maybe that's the fourth thing we know. Most of the stock he's shorted under $2. Of course, we're relying on the NOBO list and Brent's representation of it. But somewhere around $2.50, $3, the guy's going to get margin called. We know that. And I just added 4 that we know kind of what price might be the trigger point. The fifth thing we can assume, this is a stupid trade. No one's going to step into this trade. The most they can make $100,000 to $200,000 after costs. In return, the stock's already going up. What's going to rescue this guy? There's nothing on the horizon. Brent said the S3 is pulled until this is resolved. Okay, so we know that. The fifth thing we know is the guy is going to be under massive pressure to bring money into his account. The prime broker might say, you know what? This stock's going against you and it doesn't look good. We want $5 a share. They can change it at any time. Okay, now the sixth thing, which is, all of this is speculation, but the sixth thing is putting those 5 together. My assumption is this guy's not going to put any more money up. It's a bad trade. It's a really stupid trade. He made a trade on the premise that there was going to be a lot of supply driving the price down. We now know from last night's call, from this call, and it's going to be fully disclosed, Mark. It's going to be widely disseminated to all investors. We know that supply it's not going to be there. All right. So what my action idea is, and what I think can happen, is the demand is going to be expanded by 153,000 shares, maybe more. Not by the guy. He'd sit there, smoking his gitain and on a gold stem and leaning back, cool and calculating, sipping his, his skinny cappuccino while he's watching the screen on his iPad at a Mediterranean cafe, a Monte Carlo cafe. He's like, well, I'm going to trade it. Well, that is not what the error desk at the prime broker is going to do. They're going to say, we need 75 grand. I know these numbers are small compared to what we're hearing in other stocks, but it's all that's necessary to make this go. It's so small, it's comical. We need 75 grand, monsieur. We need it transferred by 2. Well, I'll get it to you. All right, thank you, monsieur. And then 2 comes and it doesn't come in. Next morning, ring, ring. Monsieur, the stock has moved against you, and now the capital required to maintain this position, we need 175,000, monsieur. But we're not going to wait till 2. We need immediate delivery of that money, or we're going to liquidate positions in your account. Which stock do you want me to sell? Don't touch any of my other positions. I can't afford to sell those. Well, monsieur, you leave us no choice. We're going to have to close this transaction. Click. Well, then the compliance, the operations side of the prime brokers puts in an order. They call down to their desk or they call to a competitor's desk. We have 153,000 shares to buy. Well, do you want us to work it? No, just buy it. You see what happens. You know, if you have 153,000 shares to buy and there's no selling and he's gone, he's not going to, the prime broker is not going to take any more fake shares selling from him. I don't know. I don't even know what the volume on this stock was, but I know it wasn't very high. Some days it only traded 100 shares a day. Some days it was a few thousand, but it wasn't very high. And Mark, going back to your question, I cannot tell you how high it can go because it's kind of a unique situation. Because the answer is it'll go as high as it takes these 200,000 shares that are the float to sell. That's it. It may attract, if the price goes high enough, it may attract some of those insiders. But my guess is most of the insiders are going to hold for the long-term fundamentals of GOLQ. They bought Gamma Ray. That's already done. They have nest egg coming. They have a huge whale insider committed to the company. They're working on other acquisitions. Brent just told you, he's working with an investment bank only for a small raise that actually calls retail invest. Actually, can you imagine a fundraiser that actually talks to clients and raises up money in a plain vanilla financing so they can get listed on the New York Stock Exchange, not NASDAQ. And they've built a tremendous team. The woman from she's a deal maker. I want to say she's from either Mexico or but she's a prominent deal maker. Excellent hire. Another gentleman, I'm forgetting his name right now as well. All on the board. So this is an exciting, GOLQ is an exciting long-term play as well. But Mark, I'm trying to answer your question full frame, what my investment thesis would be as a trade. And I don't think, I can't give specific advice to any one person, but the way I would do it is I'd look at my account and say, you know what, I'll take 1%, I'll take a punt for 1%. I might even just do it for $200. If it goes to 20, I pay off a credit card. But this is a setup where the CEO is fighting back in the open, and he's not just telling his buddies. He's telling you and others, all Reg FD. So I don't think we're manipulating the stock. I think it's right out in the open. And if shorts are listening, we're telling you what we're going to do. It's not manipulation. When the shorts sell stock that doesn't exist, that is market manipulation. When they work with the market maker, that is collusion. When they sell, fail to deliver, fail to locate shares, it's fraud. And when they destroy companies, this is just one company. I think it's RICO. I think it's mafia. I think it's disgusting. So, Mark, I don't think I think we're playing by the rules. They're not. That's how I see it, Mark. Yeah, they could be scared. Barbara Corcoran on the board. That would be cool. 250. They could be scared over that. I think. Where's Jenny? Did she leave? Oh, Jenny, Rebecca. You should. Volume 46K. That's awesome. Yeah, there you go, Steve Mertz. I'm going to try to do that too once I get off this call. But my goal is to have 1,000 shares. And I bought some yesterday. I got to see how much I bought. I forget what time of day. I think it was right at the end of the day. I don't remember. But anyway, my goal, just to also go back to Mark's question, I'd love to have a quick trade, have a nice little run, and then put the money into GTII. But my goal is to stand with Brent, stand with GoLogic, and stand with the employees of Logic, the management, and then the board members, and make Logic a successful long-term company. That's my goal. So, all right, Jenny. I may. It's 260. You know what, CB? And I'll try to. You were. I'm actually quite amazed that you picked up on that trading pattern in Logic. I didn't. Somebody told me about it, and maybe I can get that gentleman on a call, space call. I'd have to ask him so he could explain it to everybody. But that's Logic. Let me sign in and see what Logic's doing. GoLogic's doing. Jenny, maybe I'll stay on a little bit here, but I may stop off and then go to, because I don't want this call to be too long, although I just realized people could listen to the replay and then they could just quit once Brent stopped talking, so that's a good point. And Mark, the other thing is, I'm not, to be clear, I'm not suggesting that you sell anything of your core positions or your other trades, or, in other words, I'm not saying get out of GTII, go into this, or get out of, Finger and go into this. I'm just suggesting this is in the short run, this is an opportunistic trade. I support GoLogic over the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months as an investment as well. And put it back into Finger. I would love, who said this? P-Man. You know what I'd love? It seems like every single stock that we are all in collectively, and I'm not in all of them, they all get crushed. And I would love one of them to pop up and then take that money and it goes into another. And I'm not pre-deciding which one that would be. But, Mark asks a good question, and that's what the other side will say. But remember, the other side are full of liars and lawyers, and lawyers are liars often. Liars and lawyers and manipulators and thugs. We're trying to follow the rules exactly as we understand them. They don't. Wow, Robert, 251 to 260. That's kind of pounceable movement. 500 by 1500. What's the volume? I'm still trying to sign in. I should be able to find my own information. Of all the days, I just noticed my neighbor's garage is all plywood. All these neighborhoods were rough, not too many years ago. All right, let's see if this works. My third attempt. They'll block me out. All right. And the other thing, by doing a trade in GoLogic, it distracts us from all our other... you feel helpless when you can't do anything. You're sitting, nothing's happening. This gives you an action item, and particularly if you don't go whole hog on it, You can be unemotional about selling a little bit when it doubles, selling more when it goes up 5 times, and who knows. Yeah, I see right now 259 to 270, 48,000 shares traded, up 35%. Whoever's on the other side of this trade's got to be going, boy, what's happening? He's sitting very elegantly at the late night cafe in Switzerland, and he's, oh my gosh, what's happening to my stock? I'm down. But he can't show his alarm because he has a elegant mademoiselle across the table, and he's about to drop 600 francs on dinner and champagne. But he can't help steal a look at his phone. What do I do? Mon Dieu. Oh, I can't do anything till Monday because I'm out tonight. It's 11:11 right now. And then he says, let me go. I must go use the gentleman's. Excusez-moi. And he goes off to the elegant men's room, goes in, makes a phone call to his office. What do you think's going on? What do we do? Well, there's nothing. We don't know. Was there an earnings call? Well, let me listen to it. Okay, listen to it. Call me back. So as they're having their dessert, and he's laughing at her inane joke and conversation he's trying to listen to, he's distracted, but she's so beautiful he has to pay attention, and his phone buzzes in half an hour. We've got trouble. So he excuses himself again. I'm so sorry about all this. It won't end. As long as I'm on the call, it won't end. So then he excuses himself again, and he gets on the phone and he calls the trader and he says, "Start buying it back." And he's upset and he's frustrated, and then he forgets that Mademoiselle is at his table. He returns and she's gone. And he spends a long weekend tossing and turning because easy money, an easy profit of 150,000 euros has disappeared, and now he's worried he's going to lose €1 million and lose his trading account. What will he tell his wife? Will he have to take his children out of their private schools? Can he afford that vacation that he has scheduled to India? That's what I think could be happening. Sorry, this is a man putting plywood on the side of a plywood wall. Maybe he's trying to get rid of rats. I don't know. Is GOLQ here, William? GOLQ. See, it says I have holdings because I bought some yesterday. Let me see, just for full disclosure, what I bought and paid. I may not show it to you because I don't want to. It may be too much information, but I think I should let you know. Yeah, I bought at, oh God, the noise. I bought, sorry, I'll wait till that, very important. I'll wait till that very important donut run goes by. That's what drives me crazy. They put on the sirens and then they go very slowly. If you're going to go slow, turn off the siren. If you're going to go fast, turn on the siren. If you're going to make all this noise, go 60 miles an hour. All right, so I bought 100 at 184.5. I bought 650 at 197.9, so that's $2. And I bought 120 at 194. So basically I paid, I don't know what that adds up to. Basically I paid $2. Anthony, when I went to Cairo years ago, actually Adnan Khashoggi was sitting at the table across, and it was great. We had a great time. I was with my friends, and we had a cigar, but we had a great meal, drinking, I think it was beer, but maybe champagne or wine, but beer anyway. And we just spent the afternoon there. But of course, as one does, one must go use the loo. So I go in to the lavatory, and I just want to go use the urinal and wash my hands. And as soon as I'm standing there, this is Cairo, where for every job you need one man, they have 5 people doing it. All of a sudden, I can't do the Arabic, but sir, there's these guys with little tissues to hand me, and then they turn the tap of water. They give me soap. It's 5 guys doing this. I told my friend Sari, I said, and he laughed. He never forgot it that I pointed that out. But yeah, I don't enjoy what a job that is. But I guess it's a good living. Oh, you can't buy GOLQ at IBKR. I wonder why. I guess because it's a low float. Yeah, what I would do, Matthews, if I don't know if it's going to move quickly or not. For sure, no one has it, but I'm making an assumption that the guy isn't going to want to put more money in such an idiotic trade. If he pulls a Kurt Kramer and wants to commit Hayekari, maybe he will, but it's going to be taken out of his hands pretty quickly. So I basically paid $2, just under $2, which is, I guess, a better price than some of you guys did. But I had never bought any before because, well, GTII is 156, 157. Wow, only 164,000 shares. Something's happening there, too. Something is happening there. I think GTII is showing the signs of a criminal running out of heart. Vocal's not doing anything. It was a very interesting space call on MMAT, and sure enough, there were a couple guys talking ARCA and 100% about the trading in MMAT, and there's a little bit of strength today. But the way I heard it and the way I listened to MMAT, here's my thesis on MMAT. They have a revolutionary battery. There's massive demand for that, and it's the filament or something. I'm not, anyway, it's the technology they have. There's massive demand. There are contracts, and they all of a sudden could have more revenue than Crotius. So that's their rescue, and hopefully they've raised enough money to get to that milestone. But I think it's a terrible find. The stock looks terrible. This chart looks terrible. To me. But yesterday there was some enthusiasm. Anyway, what I'm going to look at it with MMAT is if GTII goes. Of course, a lot of you might be buying it, but I personally think MMAT could have a spike lower or a period of time where it's lower, and I think it would be attractive as a complete gamble, not an investment, a gamble. Logic is, there's great things happening at Logic. I forget who asked the question. Was it CB or somebody else? Anyway, there were several questions on Logic. I'm not avoiding them. It's just, I think we have an opportunity here to make a nice trade in GOLQ, GOLQ. So Logic's at 44 cents. They dropped the bid, so you could drive a Mack truck between this bid. 35 cents to 44 cents. 18.5 by 10, 174. Jeremy would tell you that the algorithm is adding the 174 to make it look like an idiot retail investor is selling. I see the 174, it's communication. Hey, we're 18.5 to 10, 174. I want to cross some stock with you. Want to dance with you all night. All right, let's go to the stock of the hour. GOLQ 268, 49,740, 250 by 270. I don't have level 2, used to. They don't give it anymore. And on OTC markets, they don't give it. But right now it shows on level 1, 300 by 1400, 250 to 270. It's been as high as 270. I think we might have a fun little trade here. All right, let me see what William is saying. William Lefebvre, Electrovia, EFLVF, match that downturn with MMAT. All right, they developed they have a patent. Well, William, I want to learn more about it because to me, what excited me about Tesla, and I got it wrong. I told people, you better get out of it, and it went much higher. But what excited me about Tesla is the battery technology. All the rest of it, I'm sure it's great. But in the world, there's a lot of energy in this world. From the sun, from wind, from the waves. There's a huge amount of energy. But the problem is, how do you harness that energy when people need it? How do you harness it when there's a snowstorm? How do you harness it when there's a hurricane? Batteries are the answer. Oh, you have 12 years in semiconductor. That'd be fun. Maybe we can have a call and you can talk about it. Wow. So do you like MMAT? Wow, GOLQ just traded at 275, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It's not updating. No, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what I saw. It shows the high of 270. So I must be blind. Well, Toyota has a hydrogen motor. Hydrogen's a battery, frankly. It's not a source of energy. The technology, I talked about it, the one that intrigues me the most is the one that Matt Simmons set up a company and then he died. I liked that man. I wonder about skullduggery. But the offshore windmills off of Maine are designed to provide electricity during the summer for air conditioning. This is how I remember it. I might have the seasons inverse, but the rest of the time they spin its excess energy. So what he was trying to set up, it's what do you call it, hydrolysis? Using the energy to split seawater into hydrogen and ammonia. And then the waste product is water. You just dump it back in the sea. But the ammonia, apparently ammonia, you can adapt your engine in your car, your combustion engine, slightly. And it has similar power, miles per gallon, as gasoline. And it doesn't have the pollution. So that's something that intrigues me. And in fact, noise everywhere. Well, Joseph Leo, MMTLP is delisted. It doesn't exist. And NextBridge is private. I don't think MMTLP is going to trade again. I might have to. He's just blowing leaves off a roof instead of using a broom. So that won't last very long. Hey Sean, we had this. You like him when I do it in the morning. Somebody's going to say that's what she said. Because it's always clever to say that's what she said. You know, when someone says it, it's like, wow, never heard that before. 260 to 270. Jenny L, 268. Oh, they were a Toyota spinoff. All right, I'll look that up. EFLVF. No. EFLVF. What I understand from listening to MMAT, their battery technology outclasses everyone. So I'll look that up. Now, he wasn't saying it was in trouble at all. Arca was saying that when he looked at the charts, that, let me see where it's trading. He wasn't saying it was in trouble. He just felt, he was reminding everybody when the stock was at, 2 something, that he thought it could get down to 152, actually, where it is right now. And so he was saying, hey, I did think that could happen. He then said, because at every point in time a stock price can go up or down, he said maybe it could go into the high 120s is my memory. But it would be that would just be a short drop. And he saw, to my memory, he was also talking about MMAT, so I'm mixing his wording, but I think he was quite enthusiastic for GTII to rally back. What I remember him saying is 180, but he did a video on GTII the other day, so you can watch it. That's Arca. This is not going to be a stock that trades by technicals if there's an announcement that 1-800 law firm went through. This guy is literally blowing one leaf at a time with a gasoline powered, I guess it's the luck. Back in my day we had to use brooms. Anyway, God. Anyway, if it's 1-800, if it's the Trento mine, if it's some announcement on the West lawsuit, if the dividend takes hold, there's a lot of reasons why GTII could go up. This 19 million shares that is being looked to be bought these changes to the upside, all of a sudden Arca's and Avid are going to say, well, let me count it here. I'm so sorry. He's been working on this for 15 minutes. I've counted the leaves that went over the side of the roof. About 15 leaves. He's burning oil to do this, gasoline. Yeah, I know, Kevin. I hate that sound too. It's probably from... All right, he's about to turn it off. Nope. Oh, there a leaf went off. One more leaf. And now that looks like about 20 of them. No. That was about 45 leaves. Maybe 50. And another minute passed. And then suddenly, without warning, another minute passed. Yeah, he's being very green. Oh no, look, that looks like at least 100 and maybe 75 to 100 leaves just went off. There's another big bunch, so I guess he's been collecting them. Good news is he's going through the gutter now. Very thorough guy. There's about 15 leaves. He's going back through the gutter. There's no more leaves. Yet he's going through the gutter, now down the chimney. There's 3 leaves came out of the gutter. Just going back to check. We're not going to turn it off. We'll just carry it as we go back to check if he missed any. Ugh, I hate it. I would floppy ears, solve the problem. I want it solved. Tell me how to do it. There, literally 3 more leaves he got. He went up to the middle of the roof, came back, 3 more leaves. All right, let's not turn it off all the way. We'll just let it rumble. Can't fix stupid. That's a good point. Smart people can do stupid. All right, now it's 150 to 151. Ah. Nothing. That whole effort, nothing came off the roof. All right, 270. Oh, I see why I saw 75. It's 270. It's up 77. So last time I looked, it must have been up 75. So we're up 40%. Ah, peace. Beautiful peace. The birds have even stopped chirping while he was doing that. Ah. Sir, we understand you're painting this roof white to be green, but why are you burning gasoline to get rid of maybe 300 or 400 leaves? Yeah, Ted Williams. Calling a horse race. That's what my life is reduced to. So we're at 50,096 shares at 1134. I think, I don't know who this guy is, but he's losing. The bid is now 270 to 275, 700 by 700. We'll see. I mean, obviously, if he decides to keep selling, he gets home and he says he pulls a Le Chiffre. Remember in the movie James Bond? He doubled down on his bet. Yeah, I think he might be. Yes, he'd be. Jason, I think he could be toast. I would love it. It'd be fun. Matthew Parker, 260,000 shares trading GTII. And yeah, exactly. And it's all fraud trading, by the way. There's nobody selling. That's just crossing amongst themselves. That guy's running out of time too. And just imagine if they do a deal over the weekend or early next week, or if they have another dividend, or imagine if the FBI finds who's been selling, or imagine if Alpine finally just buys it in. Remember what Ham said. No one who, if a prime broker goes down, it gets absorbed in the system. The trades, I mean, the positions get absorbed somewhere. Maybe RBC or Goldman Sachs buys it. But they're not going to take on that naked position in GTII. They buy it in. I know, Ted, I can't stand that sound. It ruins perfectly good, like right now, how beautiful it is. And he could have accomplished all of that with a broom. 270 to 275, or electric blower, make no noise. 270 to 280, 270 to 280. And down the stretch they come. He found a little packet of leaves that he has to get rid of. Oh no. He's come down to a lower roof. He's on the second floor roof. And there are a lot of leaves there. I can see them. This is going to be a production. He's going to turn that brown roof gray. Yeah, Jason, wouldn't that be something? And Jason, wouldn't it be amazing if a small, yeah, I know, a beehive would be great. Wouldn't it be amazing if a small short position, because this is a small position, could be one of the triggers to show shorts all over the street what happens. What's happening? I feel like I'm in suburbia. It's the last place I want to be, in suburbia. DeWalt makes a nice battery. Yeah, that would be much. DeWalt makes a nice sandwich. Heavy Chevy. All right, so we're 270 to 280. I wish I had level 2, because I have a feeling. So I haven't put in any orders, but if I were to put an order in, maybe after I get off this, I might buy a bit at the ask and then bid for the rest. I mean, this isn't something to go all, to get overly, 100 shares would be fun if it went to 20 or 40 or something. Hell, it'd be fun if it went to a 10. I used to, in high school, I was a Sears teen board member. They came to the high school and they interviewed us. So, I can't deal with it. If I had a gun. I hate all these sounds. I know. A one-man band to a two-man band. I know, Todd. I can't stand it. So 275 bid. 275 bid. Kevin, I love it. I'm a contractor. Reminds me of hell. Well, Kevin, when I was in high school and then a little bit, my stepfather would do construction, and I'd have to go do it with him. And believe it or not, Kevin, I could take a 16 penny nail, and you know when you're building frames, this is back before there were those electric guns. I could get a 16 penny nail in pine, of course. It would go dunk dunk. I could literally do that. I dunk, and then I'd pow, and I get the whole thing in. But I hated all these sounds. I hated them all. And it just would go on and on. I couldn't stand it. I hated the saw. I hated it all. And we didn't have earmuffs. I couldn't stand it. And then on the weekends, it was my job to, as we called it, mow the lawn, cut the grass. The bells, the bells, the bells. I can't stand the bells. He's not finished. He's just taking a cigarette break. No, he's just looking at what's left to do. Oh, the lead paint, the asbestos, I also worked on some jobs. You know, I guess I forget why I did it. I remember down in Richmond, bricklaying, and the guy called me Blood. Young Blood, could you bring me some of that mud? You know, you'd make up the cement. I think he called it mud. Carry it up the ladder and down. You can hear it. It's the low rumble of a motorcycle. Instead, it's a leaf blower. Yeah, we need a jackhammer. A crying baby. I don't mind babies that cry, actually. It'd be great to have, you know, in that Family Guy scene where he goes back in time, and he lives in a house, and somebody knocks on the door. They don't like the sound of it, and he just turns on all his stereo speakers. No one's ever. It'd be great if I had speakers to just play that Wagner. What is it? The Valkyries. 275 to 280. 1,000 shares on the bid. Yeah, nail guns. I don't know what they're doing over here. My guess is that they had a water damage or plant damage. It also could just be there was rats. I don't know. He's almost done. All right, so maybe at 12 o'clock I'll go get lunch. Well, right now, hey, Belly, we're watching GOLQ. GOLQ up 43%, 84, 277.5. And the whole premise, Ellie, is it has a low float, and Brent corrected me. It has 1.1 million shares at the DTCC, and I guess about over 700,000 are closely held. And then there's another 200,000 that are also similarly, I don't know what word to use, but they're not being traded. They're closely held as well, but it's more voluntarily. So you've got a float out there, maybe of 200,000 shares, and there's one guy, probably, short 153,000 shares as of last Friday. It looks like he may have done some more this week. But it's likely his premise was the GOLQ shares, which were distributed as a dividend 2 Decembers ago, which I got some, were issued with a legend. They're basically, you get the shares, but you can't trade them. They're restricted. And they had a 1-year restriction, and they were issued in April because it took the SEC a while to approve. So now they would be free to trade, and that's quite a bit of stock, something like 19 million shares, he said. And so Brent had filed an S3 with the SEC, because you have to get approval to as a class, remove that legend. So this short was selling mostly under $2, it looks like, thinking that all this supply was going to come in and drive it downward. Well, guess what? Brent announced last night and today, and he's going to put it out in some sort of release. He's going to pull that S3, and that'll be on EGDR. And so this is a trap short. You have a huge house to build on a local lake. You'd rather day trade? So it's not your house. You're building it for somebody else. I don't know, Kevin. There's an aspect to doing that kind of work that when you start, it's like, oh God, but slow. And as you know, the most fun part is at the end, where you've already done 85, 90% of 95% of the work, but it's all the stuff that's visually pleasing at the end. But anyway, there's something about, hey, I did that. Whereas doing finance and all, you don't know exactly which day, when. You don't know if the work you did that day is actually going to lead to results. I don't know. There's something comforting about actually getting something done. 271 bid, 100 to 280. Well, Ali, I think it's a trade. I'm not telling you to go whole hog in it, and I'm not telling you to sell other positions, but I believe this short is going to be trapped, and he's not going to want to put more money in the trade. And I think you could see, a miniature short squeeze. That doesn't mean it won't go to a high price, but he's short 160,000 shares probably by now, naked. They don't exist. And Brent read from the Nobo list. There's 200,000 in the float. So if it goes to the error account, they're not going to care what price they pay. But to induce selling, the stock price has to go higher. I don't know what guesstimate I would give. The stock traded as high as $8 a year ago or 10 months ago. I certainly think it can go to $8, $10, $15, but it could go much higher. 25, 30, 40. I don't know. I wouldn't be greedy. I just do it as a trade. Have a little bit of profit, put it in something you want, like GTII, and it's a distraction while we're just feeling helpless in MMTLP, and even to a certain extent in GTII. But wow, 280 last trade, 271, 289. She's a bad mamba jamba. 271, 289, 280, up 87 cents, 45. And Mark asked a question earlier, I don't know how I'm coming across. I think it was a good question. It was a valid question. I tried to answer it at length. I know sometimes I get all, wound up. I didn't mean to be. But one thing he was asking is, are we, our little group here, are we trying to do some sort of manipulation? And no. Last night, Brent talked about this to everyone on a pre-announced earnings call anybody could dial in on. That's full disclosure. He's going to print up the transcript. He's not typing it himself, so he has to wait till it's finished. That'll be released as a news announcement. That's full disclosure. I don't know how to give advance notice of my live streams, but I talked about it last night. So in a way, that was my effort to let everybody know to tune in today. It was, in a way, it was full disclosure. And then once we're done, I'm going to post this so people can listen into it. And I'm going to go over there and shoot that guy. Imagine a world without gasoline. 270 to 288. High on the day, 282. 53,097. This is if it squeezes. I mean, I gave you my list of 6 things or 5 things that led to my 6th, the conclusion. But this is almost in a miniature way, as my dad would call it, miniature. Miniature. And he didn't say that all the time. But he would say things like diaper. We can see in slow motion how how a short squeeze works. That'd be fun. They're not going to stop trading for 150,000 shares, 153,000 shares. So last trade 278. What am I just kidding about, Jenny L? Oh, I was just kidding about that. I'm not going to go kill him. I'm not going to go kill him. It's the sound, the bells. But I was just kidding. I have no intention. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I just want the sound to stop. That's all, Jenny. But it's nice otherwise to be outside. It's a gorgeous day. Absolutely beautiful. The birds aren't making any noise, which I would like. See, Jenny, how much better it is? Kill the sound is what I mean. Kill the sound. 270, 288. I guess in this world of wokeness, you got to be really careful the things you say. Things you say. Yeah, I heard, Mark, I didn't see it. The Raza amended it, but I did hear about it on the space call. She said she was going to do it after Eid, which is today. I don't know when they break their fast, last night or tonight, but today's Eid. So, yeah, that's great that she's doing it. Tremendous. I'm getting a tan. There's no sun. I hope it's not a sign of... high blood pressure or something. But you're right. It looks a little bit red, doesn't it? 270 to 288, 54,008. I don't know what's the average volume in this thing. Over the last 10 days, the average volume is 7,088. So that includes some of this higher volume. But I swear this stock used to trade by appointment. So it was as low as 130 this year. And according to what we just heard from Brent, a lot of the volume that to him clearly is a naked short happened under $2. Well, no, that's when we said over the last 2 weeks. I'm saying my memory of the trading, it was all under $2. So that's It was as high over the last 52 weeks as 709, so that obviously the $8 dropped off the screen, and as low as 130. Today it opened at 194. It's been as high as 288, and that's where it is right now. 288, 280 to 288. Do you think this gentleman is going to have an easy weekend? Oh mon Dieu, what have I done? He's out with his secretary tonight on a business trip, and he has to get home to the wife tomorrow and the little crying bratty kids, and they have to go to Lutheran church on Sunday, and then he's got to fly back to his office Monday morning. His head's going to be pounding, and he's got to be smiling, and he gets in the office and he gets a margin call. Over there it's not from Marge, it's from Mathilde. Mathilde calls and says, Francois, we need some déjeuner. Not déjeuner. What is it called? What's money in French? I can't remember now. It's been, anyway, 280 to 288. The guy today is down 95 cents on 153 shares. So at a minimum, and I'm going to guess that his average sales price is $1 away. So I'm going to guess that he's got losses in his account of $150,000. And you can allow me that because there was a cost of trading and a cost of carry and a cost of everything he's doing. So let's just say he's down 150 grand right now. And I'm going to guess that that's going to trigger a margin call Monday morning. He'll probably get through today, maybe, but there's no guarantee that his prime broker won't call him up in 2 hours and say, we need money by the close of the day today, or we're going to sell your Netflix shares or your Apple shares. No, you can't sell those. That's my portfolio. I don't own those shares. Well, what do you want us to do? If you don't bring in money, we're going to buy you in. And at some point, they won't even call him if he drags it out. And of course, there's a lot of supposition I'm giving, but that's how I see it happening. Don't be greedy with the trade. If it trades up, hi, sweetheart. The cutest little guy. He loves my dog. They're so wealthy next door. They're young and wealthy. They have a live-in nanny, a great little baby guy, and a brand new house. Living the dream. 275, 288, last trade 283. So anyway, I'm making a lot of suppositions. If the stock goes up, let's say you paid $250, maybe it goes to 5 or I don't know, pick a number. Maybe it goes to 10 on its way higher. But just remember to take your original money off the table. This isn't a trade to be all, in my opinion anyway, it's not a trade to be all diamond hands on. But it could happen really quickly if it happens, if it goes. And you heard Brent. He's not going to do anything that helps this guy. He's not going to issue new shares. He's not going to do a financing. He's going to pull the S3. He's not even going to do his merger. He's going to put everything on hold till this guy's gone. And gone he will be. 275, 285, up 90 cents. so not really trading. It's 12 o'clock. It could see CB. I'm starting to trust CB's intuition. Jenny, dreams are then a penny. Ten a penny. Dreams are 10 a penny. D'argent. That's it. D'argent. D'argent. We will need beaucoup d'argent. Yeah, no, Matthew, I think I'm not saying sell GTII at all. In fact, I think I think the shorts in GTII are on the last legs. There's an order to buy for 19 million. They called into an elderly woman to get her to panic out of 3 million shares. They're desperate, and there's negotiations with a whistleblower to give all sorts of information on the rats. So no, I think GTII could explode at any time as well. Wow, 287, 290. Yes, I have a French accent. Monsieur. I don't speak French. Hey, yeah, that was a big blower. That was a helicopter. That guy stopped. Now they're going down there. Can't everyone just be lazy on a beautiful day? 288 to 290, 54.61, 288, 290. I don't think it's, I'm going to guess, Jeff, that it's not Goldman Sachs. This is a small trade. It's a really stupid trade. However, in defense of whoever did it, they're taking a gamble, and that's what you do on Wall Street. They're taking a gamble with slightly breaking the rules, slightly counterfeiting. That's a big violation, but no one enforces it. So they're thinking, all right, I'll sell stock I don't own. I'll abuse my back office and I'll abuse my relationship with the market maker, because when I see the filings in GOLQ, and probably it's somebody that knows GOLQ, when I see the filings, I know they're going to have all these millions of shares. And Brent said it was about 600 people. I'm going to bet that those people are just going to get out of the stock. Well, he's going to pull the S3. It's not going to happen. It's possible it was some group working in collusion with the investment bank they had talked to, who was going to raise a small amount of money and supposedly all equity, and maybe that group was having somebody sell offshore, and then they were going to price the equity low and make that happens all the time. But I have to trust Brent's judgment that equity firm wasn't doing that. But in any event, that's on hold too right now. And at some point, GOLQ is going to go directly to the New York Stock Exchange. That sounds more like an electric saw. 290 last trade, 289, 294. Yeah, what up, old man? It'll happen to you if you live long enough. And I'll bet you'd be just as surprised as I am when you realize, oh my gosh, 290, 294, 55.78. It's up $1.01, 52%. See, this is a little game of canasta on the side while we wait for the big trade in GTII. And I think and I've said it on my calls, I think all the indications are there. It's like calling an eruption of a volcano or an earthquake by reading seismic and little rumbles. We haven't seen all the animals turn in one direction yet, but and my guess is more volcanic eruptions and more earthquakes are predicted than ever happen. But I really feel like all the signals on GTII, everything's in place that you would see if there were to be a short squeeze very, very soon. It might not happen. And the next time it gets close, it'll be the same kind of signals. So I really think GTII is on the verge of a major potential step up in share price. So we're 290, 294, 56,000 shares. What are these prices coming from? Naked Caballero. I remember what a Caballero is. Does it have something to do with bullfighting? Or is it some rakish man? Anyway, 290, 294. I think these prices are coming from Brent's call last night, the call we had this morning, and others. I think others are out there that understand that there's a trap short here. That's what I think the orders are coming on. Oh, it's a gentleman, I see. Well, Buck Thanar, the tragedy is the woman is in a nursing home and she suffers from dementia. So this is the kind of people, these scumbags that are on the other side of the trade. And when I hear anybody, as one IR guy did on Twitter that you know, he put up, oh, Kurt Kramer would never talk to people like that on Twitter. I know him. He's not like that. I'm paraphrasing. It gets me so angry I can't stand it. These are the scum of the earth. At least, let me amend it, they are behaving like the scum of the earth. I'm sure they're God's children. 295 to 299. Are you out of your mind? 299. Are you out of your mind? 299. 295, 299, 58,048. I don't sleep much. Caballero is a gentleman. I know it's the lowest of the low. It's just, and for what? Why does Gary Gensler protect them? Why does Wall Street protect them? For what? Look, we live in a capitalistic system. I'm all for the free markets, but we have socialized banking. When they get in trouble, they come to you. When they steal, they go to they capture the regulators, and they just collect money. But what benefit does it give to society? Who cares if Lloyd Blankenfein makes so much money or Ken Griffin can buy another office building? How does that help society? Why are we lionizing these greedy? All right, 299, 296 to 299, 59,000 shares. Yeah, I know, Twisted Game Logistics. I can't wait till GTII starts trading like this. And I think the next time GTII starts to trade upward, you're going to see movements. Boom, boom, boom. That's what Ham said on the call last night I hadn't heard before, but he believes that we're down to the last market manipulator in GTII, which is this whoever it is, the 19 million shares. And I trust his judgment. I really do. They are protected so that everyone is invited to the cocktail party. Yeah. 296, 299, 100 by 100, 59,410. All right, so I didn't quit at 12. I might quit at 12:30 just so I can eat something. Do a little cleaning up in the kitchen. 299. And then I'll come back on for tonight. And Jenny, I'm not going to go shoot that guy. But I do wish he'd stop doing whatever he's doing. 290 to 299, 60,980 shares. But guys, in GOLQ, make sure you watch it. I think there's going to be a big I gave you my predicates, and I've been explaining it again now. I think could be a buy-in of the stock. So when there's volume, don't hesitate to take profits, or also don't hesitate for higher numbers either. But once the buy-in is over, I don't know, 150, 200,000 shares, and there might be some other back and forth, the stock will pull back down. I don't know, maybe it goes to 30, 25, 50, 100, I don't know. Or maybe it just goes to 10 or 15. But whatever, make it a winning trade. Take whatever you have, spend it on the wife, spend it on the $299, or pay off a credit card debt, or buy some GTII. Whatever you want to do. I'm not trying to create a diamond hands here, but I do think GOLQ is a valuable long-term investment. By long-term, I mean 1 year, and I think you could see the stock up 10 times from here, $20, $25, $30 a share, if they are able to make their acquisitions, grow their organic growth to the revenue targets that Brent mentioned last night on his earnings report. I think GOLQ, if you don't get out of it as a trade, I think it's a beautiful hold, but there's no reason, if it runs in a short squeeze, there's no reason not to take your profit when it comes back down. Buy more, buy less, whatever. 298, we're up $1.05, 285 to 298. So they're going to try to bring it back a bit. It's okay. 285, 298. We'll see if they're successful. Jenny, 23 shares is all you need. One other general, Basamo, bought 25 and added 10. I think that's all you need. What I'd like this to be is something we can do and see how it works. And if it works, it's a distraction from the complete feeling of paralysis that we've had in MMTLP and even in GTII for the last weeks, months. And, I tell you, if you have a winner in your account, you have a little extra dosh, you can go back in and buy some more of something else. It gives you a good feeling. But this is a trade to make sure it's a winner. So as it goes up, I suggest taking, at some point, it's your determination. But remember, it's 153,000 shares, at least, that if there's a buyback, have to be bought back in, and will probably be bought back in all at once, on a float estimated at 200,000 shares. Obviously, if it goes to really high prices, that float might expand a little bit. Some of the people that didn't want to sell might say, hey, it's 100, I'll sell some. But this is a stock, which I recommend as a longer term hold. I do. I think it's terrific. But it's a trade. This particular trade is a trade on the margin that you don't have to get wedded to if you don't want to be. I mean, it might be that you paid $250 for this stock and it's worth waiting till the end of the year and see if you can get $20 or $25 a share. And 285, 298, 61,000. All right. 23 shares is more than enough, Jenny, to have a nice experience. And who knows? It goes to $10. You can come back and buy. How many would that be? That would be buy 100 shares of, a little more than 100 shares of GTII. I'm not telling you, do whatever you want. You can have a nice meal out, or it goes to $20, or it goes to 30. Who knows? 298, 285, 298, 300 to 161,720. But this will be a classic case of, as it runs up, there will be volume. If you want, if it's a trade rather than a longer term investment, which I think the investment will pay out handsomely, but if it's a trade, take advantage of volume, take advantage of spikes in the volume, because that, once the buy-in is over, if it happens, the volume will collapse, and then it's a little harder to get out. 285, 298, 300 by 100, 105. Yeah, John, you've had GTII since November. Tell me about it. I think it'll go to 4, and it might happen soon. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I've been in it for almost 2.5 years. Well, no, not quite that much, but over 2 years. $57 shares is great, Don. No, that's great. Don't do it. You don't have to do it. You can just watch it. What I like about this right now is it's so simple. I didn't know about the short position till yesterday, a day before, trying to understand it. I actually learned more just now about it. But what I like about it, it's a small amount of money. If for some reason the short wins here, I'm willing to sit on it for a year and get potentially 10 times my money. But it's also a distraction from just the complete helplessness that waiting for FINRA to do something about MMTLP, waiting for the short to get bought in GTII. Yeah. Oh, you did, John? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, ARCA has a video on it. 285, 297. All right, so in 10 minutes, 11 minutes, whatever, 12:30, I'm going to go get lunch and put my foot up because it hurts. It really hurts. $297, $285, $295, $297, $104, $285. I'm not even looking at GTII. I've gotten so distracted. All right, let's look at GTII. 154, 155. Remember, I didn't see ARCA's video, but he also said that it could turn around right there, hit 152, and that's the reversal. That's what I remember he said. Don't quote me. Listen to his video. Logic is 38 to 43. Vocal is 14. UCAR is, wow, down 30. So that ran up to 37. Now it's down 30 to 1280. That's how quick they happen. That basically was 3 days. So MMAT up slightly, 1982, basically 20 cents. Let's see how CXAI is doing. Back down. But not down all the way. $10.35. Yeah, Arca has a crystal ball. Actually, I think those guys are pretty good. And the way you need guys like Arca and Avid, and there's a couple others. I think 100 does a great job. On this call sometimes is U.S. Root Tahoe. He's made some good calls. Sounds like CB knows what he's doing. But there's a bunch of people. But if you can get comfortable with someone that can give you the read on charts when you're in something, it's just another data set. And I think it's helpful. Yeah, that's a good. Jenny says, if anyone wants to help with GTII, others, you can direct message. I think that's what DM stands for. Go find your mother at 187, which is Matt E. He will give you info about Retail United. I think that's a tremendous idea, and I'm going to join. I think Retail United is great. Look, these guys all collude together. They all gang up on you. Who's to blame the wildebeest or the zebras for gathering in a herd when the hyenas attack lone zebras? Why should we be out there as lone sheep? If we can get in a herd and we can have a Great Dane or something, a shepherd, a leader, we can protect ourselves. Arca's handle on YouTube is, I think it's Arca. Let me look. No, that's a singer who seems to have some image issues. So let me look up GTII. Here. I'll just show you this.
While our support conditions met, like we were talking about yesterday for GTII, we must keep an eye on a few other factors. Let's go ahead and go over those now. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is Arca coming at you with a GTII technicals, raw price action, and statistical threat of analysis on this Hump Day Wednesday.
This is Wednesday.
To the channel, like the video, and
I'm okay. I got it. It's Arca Bulls. So let me. See, it says Arca. Arca. Discord. On his Discord, it's Arca Bulls. Let me see if this. See up in the corner, it says ARCA. Anyway, if you type in GTII stock, you should see that entry for ARCA 1 day ago. And just below it, Avid Trader, who's 2 days ago, he did a massive deep dive on all of the... I did some videos on it, but Ham doesn't like... My videos take too long. ARCA's really professional. Avid, really professional. He distills the information. He moves right along. But anyway, Avid Trader and ARCA. And there, I just saw Lou did a GTI update 7 days ago. I didn't see that, so that's good. And then there's Ace in the Hole. He does great updates, and this is a live. I like this guy. He comes on all the time here, Counselor Diamond Hands. I listen to his videos. He's very good, and he's a supporter. And I don't know who this doofus is, or this one. And here's Avid again. Buy GTII now. Ace in the Hole. Here's Ace in the Hole. So anyway, there's your list of people you can follow. I don't know. I'm not picking on Lou. It's just he's back recommending GTII, which is great. I think it's terrific. Welcome the support. I think GTI Lou made some good calls. So life is such. All right, so 3 minutes, 295, 62,000. Wow, MGRX, John. MGRX up 3x. That's great. See, that's the kind of thing. If you do it on the margin, you can open up your statement and you're okay looking at. Yeah, John, Avid is great. Absolutely. Go Logic up or down on Monday. That's a short prediction, but here's what's going to happen. They're going to pull the S3 today. You just heard it. So that's going to be on Edgar. They may make an announcement. I didn't get the sense that he may not. I don't know. I have 50-50. But he's also going to distribute his earnings call. So there could be a couple of news events, news and Edgar, that caused the short to go, oh my gosh, I got to cover. But if the short wants to still play and over the weekend he decides, you know what, I'm just going to short more, Monday could be down a little bit. We're up 52%. You always can get pullbacks. There's no chart, but maybe I can find a different chart. I'll look just in case I can see a chart. There's no real, but I don't see a chart. Where else? I can't see a chart. So if I had to call it, I'd say it'd be up on Monday. If he's going to fight, it'll be down in the morning, but I don't think it'll stay down. But anything can happen. Can I explain the $3? Oh, the S3. The S3. Sorry, it's the S3 was to take the legend off the shares. Last December, for example, myself and I received the record date. I earned a distribution of GoLogic 1-for-1 for the shares of Logic that I owned. It took a while to get that all approved. I think it was around April 20th. It might have been a little bit before that. Came into my account and was effective. There's a 1-year restriction on those shares. The company made a filing with the SEC to remove that legend, to make those shares free to trade in some sort of formula. I don't think he was going to allow it to all happen. And I don't know if they call that 144 stock as I'm talking to you, but it's restricted shares, and you have to lift the restriction, and he filed with the SEC. So the short, whoever it is, has been selling aggressively, thinking that a lot of people are going to have the restriction to their shares lifted, and they since it was a free distribution, they'll just sell. That's the sound I hate. So the S3 is just a matter of course, and it would have released all these shares for sale. Well, Brent's going to pull it today. He said it last night, so it's not insider information. He said it just now. And he cleared it through his attorney. So it's not insider information. It's being disseminated. And when they pull that away, that means all that extra volume of shares won't be there. I should take a hot. Does my head hurt? Yes, a little bit, because I haven't eaten. I would love to stick my foot in a hot foot bath. I had to walk Lucky this morning, and the poor guy. I'm limping, but limping's one thing. It's the pain. I was going to go in on 1,000 GoLogic, but I think I'd be chasing it at 3, and it's no fun. Yeah. No, you don't have to chase it. I mean, you could buy a little bit at 3, bid underneath it, but you don't have to chase it. I'm not saying chase it. Yeah, it does make you appreciate the silence. Matt Core's short. You bought 300. See, I would. I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to try to buy a little myself, and I'm willing to pay $3. But we'll see. If it runs, maybe I'll wait till Monday and it'll pull back. Like the gentleman was asking, will it be up on Monday or not? It's all going to depend on whether the short decides, you know what, I'm going to fight this. Or, it's a bad trade, I'll just get out. There may be people in that 200,000 of the float that might get out, but they never got out at 8. They never got out at 5. I don't know why they get out at 3. So my opinion, it's going to go up on Monday, but, Oh, God, Lord. Beating his drums 3 houses down. Lordy. All right, I'm going to go get something to eat, but let me just see. That's good, Andy. Lou has gone off the res. He's went back to AMC. Oh, wow. Arca and Avid, great information, but boring. But that's right, 22 daisies. That's why you need somebody that loves it. They love it. And you and I wouldn't spend the time. I would no more spend an hour analyzing a chart that way than using a sawhorse to drill, to saw wood. All right, so I'm going to call it there. I'll come back in the afternoon. Don't buy any more. You bought 23, Johnny. Don't buy any more. And if it goes to, you bought it at, let's say you bought it at 3, maybe if it goes to 6, sell 13, and then put 10 in at, I don't know, put 10 in at $35, or put 5 in at 20 and 5 in at 50 or something. Hey, you don't need to buy anymore. All right, thank you guys. I'm gonna roll. There's Lucky Boy. So thank you very much. We'll catch you on the flip side.